We have this concept of crossing the chasm. Every product or technology for that matter that needs to be adopted, whether it's by its users or companies or businesses, there's always this gap between your people who are your early adopters versus people that are your early majority. And that gap is what we call crossing the chasm because it's huge and you need to have a lot of strategies in place to kind of get from one step to the other, and it's probably the most difficult phase to overcome. We actually call our leadership team at Striven the crossing the chasm team. What's inspiring me right now was sort of how to cross that chasm, because we haven't crossed it yet.
Welcome to Productside Stories, the podcast where we reveal the very real and raw lessons learned from product leaders and thinkers all over the world. I'm your host, Nicole Tieche. In this segment, we interview today's trailblazing women in product management.
Today, our guest is Pinky Panjwani, Director of Product Management for Striven at Miles IT. I'm very excited to have her with us to share her insights and experiences from the world of product management. Welcome, Pinky.
Thank you, Nicole. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to have this talk with you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited to hear more about your journey through product management. And I always love to start that journey by asking, how did you get into product management?
I think by accident. It was more of a natural progression. I finished my master's in computer science. I got a job as a software developer. That led me to, and it's at the same company. I've been there for like 22 years now, which is Miles IT, as you mentioned. And from there on, I went on to become a lead software engineer, started working more with designs, with system architecture. And then a couple years down the line, we had this idea for a product. We are mostly a custom software development company, but then we had an idea for a product that could help all businesses and basically help them accomplish more. That's really our motto. When we started talking about this product, I was again the lead on that product and as a software engineer. From there on, I think it became more and more that, I got involved into design, architecture, and eventually I started doing things that what you would define as product management type of things, but I didn't know that I was doing that at the time. And then eventually when we grew as a team, I was asked to choose my own role, and it just seemed like that one was the one that aligned with what I was doing. So like I said, it was just coincidental, very natural progression, and I didn't know that I was getting into product management when I was already doing it. That's really how I got into it.
That's so interesting. You were doing it without even realizing it. So, hey, let's have the title to
Exactly.
go along with the role.
Exactly. Hmm.
Perfect. And so now what's really inspiring you in product management?
We have this concept of crossing the chasm. So, every product or technology for that matter that needs to be adopted, whether it's by its users or companies or businesses, there's always this gap between your people who are your early adopters versus people that are your, early majority. And that gap is, what we call crossing the chasm because it's huge and you need to have a lot of strategies in place to kind of get from one step to the other, and it's probably the most difficult phase to overcome. We actually call our leadership team at Striven the crossing the chasm team. I think what's inspiring me right now, since that's the question you asked me, was sort of how to cross that chasm, because we haven't crossed it yet. So how to get there, and that involves like a lot of reading, learning, keeping your mind open, understanding what the others are doing, and seeing what are the gaps that we have that we can potentially sort of use these learnings and sort of fill those gaps. I think that keeps me inspired because we still haven't crossed it, and I'm just waiting for the day when we say that, hey, our team can be renamed to something else now. So and then like I said, because we haven't reached there, that keeps me motivated to learn more. It keeps me engaged, and I like to read a lot of books related to product management. One of the recent books that I read, for example, it's called Growth. Well, I have it right here, the book name. Let's see. Growth Hacker Marketing, okay, by this author called Ryan Holiday.
Yes.
So It's very interesting to me. It's a short book, but it talks about concepts of how marketing is changing and you use your own product to market instead of the traditional style of marketing. So just reading these books, attending seminars, webinars, certifications keeps my mind open to all possibilities. And I think that's what inspires me.
Very cool. I always appreciate a good book recommendation. I'm familiar with Ryan Holiday. I love how you're
Right.
talking about learning. Let's talk more about
Mhm.
that. It sounds like you're really passionate about that.
Yeah, I definitely am. I feel like it should be part of everybody's growth journey, right? Like the product grows, you yourself have to grow alongside it. And continuous improvement is basically a core belief in our company. All of us strive towards that, whether that is learning via books or learning via certifications or just learning by talking to each other and sharing ideas and brainstorming. So I think that's quite inbuilt in our company culture, and I'm no different than that. So I think that has caught on to me as well, and in general that's a passion of mine, is to keep learning, keep evaluating what things I need to get better at, sort of like an introspection. And I try to do that with our teams as well, which is why, normally when we have these agile sprints and you're continuously working on things, we take a break of a week every few sprints. We can dedicate it to self learning and organization, and we call it sharpening the saw. So what that means is we are taking some time off from the product and focusing on ourselves so that we can sharpen our saw, like you sharpen the saw to cut the trees,
Great.
um, so that we are more effective in our work going forward. Now, this could mean different things to different people. It could be learning, it could be organization, it could be catching up with technology, whatever it is, So, yeah, learning is an essential part, and it's definitely a big part of me.
That's so great how you build that into the culture of your team. So it isn't just the motto, right? You're
Hmm.
really living that out and making the space and the time
Exactly.
for that with your team. That's great. And
Hmm.
what other skills do you find really crucial for product managers to be successful in your industry?
I think that the most crucial thing, as per me, is, I mean, besides all the, you should have the technical know-how and, yeah, besides all those other things and understanding your product, it is the ability to simplify something. Because I think generally as humans, we tend to overcomplicate things, whether
Right.
it's a new feature, whether it's a process, and the ability to zoom out and sort of like to simplify an overcomplicated problem. I think that requires a special skill set, because generally it's easier to complicate things and really difficult to simplify things. So I think as a
Mm,
product manager, one of the crucial skills is the ability to simplify something that's complicated, even though it may remain complicated, but for you to able to communicate that so that it's
yes.
broken down into simple pieces, that I think is an essential skill. And communication is definitely key, because you're talking to so many stakeholders, you're talking to people from your product team, you're talking to engineers, you're talking to marketing, you're talking to sales. So you have to be talking in their language so that they can understand you, so you have to keep sort of adjusting the way you speak. And of course, as a product manager, you're responsible for the roadmap. So prioritization is definitely one of those things that you should be good at.
And that simplification really goes
Hmm.
with the communication, right? Because
Exactly.
you need to be able to communicate
Hmm.
that simplification, that you have to break down those pieces. I like how you said that, Pinky. And now, how do you help your team identify and foster skills to improve and work on?
Yeah, so again, at Miles IT, we have this culture of career development. Actually, it's one of our beliefs that everybody has
Great.
the right to build their careers, the way they want it to be. So so for example, if there's a team that I manage and they report to me, we have a one-on-one conversation. The frequency can be decided on, but whatever the frequency is, and we actually have an organized project that we go over in each one-on-one meeting, which talks about different things like, the strides that you have set for yourself overall versus what you're working on this quarter, versus if there are any issues and opportunities they need to talk to me about. So this could be things like something like roadblocks in their day-to-day work, or it could be some opportunity where they're saying that, hey, if we do this thing this way, it might be better. All of those things, the important but not urgent things, come
Mm.
up in these meetings. And we discuss them. You don't necessarily have to have solutions in those meetings, but you can go back, think about it, and reconvene. And basically your job is to sort of remove those obstacles. And because we're all sort of tied together with this whole belief system that I was talking about, it's easier to make these decisions, and for everybody to get on board with it. So that's so that it I think it naturally sort of propagates throughout the teams, because everybody is doing the same thing. Like I said, learning is part of our team, so everybody has that culture of learning.
Right.
And if we find that somebody's struggling in their role, then we have certain review processes on what are the areas they're struggling with. And if ultimately, even despite working on those for a few months, still the stuff doesn't work out, then we try and see if there's a better role for that person, where they would excel. So that's really how we go about understanding the needs of the product and the needs of the team member, and see how they can be adding value to each other, basically.
I love seeing how your mottos and your company beliefs are really playing out in
Right.
the day to day of your teams, and really seeing that come to life. Do
Hmm.
you see investment in your teams really improve trust and productivity? Do you see it really grow and nurture your teams for the benefit of the whole company?
Yes, for sure. I definitely think that having all these pieces put together. So, one thing is you do have your belief system, right? Whatever those beliefs are. Like as a company, we have some beliefs. We start every meeting with talking about the belief of the week. So, whoever is leading the meeting actually talks about them and what their perspective is on that particular belief. So, let's say one of our beliefs is interruptions are opportunities knocking. So we don't
Mm.
think of interruptions as something negative. We think of them as something which we can help the person and then redirect them, so that later on they feel empowered themselves to kind of help themselves or others. We don't think of it as, oh, this person interrupted me, this and that. So I think everything is an opportunity. So since we go by that belief, and we've provided sort of the tools for either communicating your issues or the space for learning, like I mentioned earlier, and the fact that we try to utilize everybody's skills so that they sort of help in the overall scheme of the product. Having all of this in place definitely helps with trust and productivity,
Mhm.
because it just
Mhm.
makes everything more effective and more transparent. So I would say it definitely does help, those two things that you mentioned.
That's great. So can you give an example from your perspective, Pinky, something that you've learned recently, either from your team or your stakeholders, that you're finding is improving your product development or your product leadership?
It's not a particular person, but lately in the team, we've been having a lot of discussions about product led growth.
Mm.
Right now we follow a typical sales model where, you have leads, you qualify them, you go through the whole sales process, demo, and, all the different stages of sales. And lately, we've started talking a whole lot about how Striven can sell itself. So instead of having a typical sales model, so it's not like the sales model is going anywhere, but we want to augment that with product-led growth. So that's something that is recently being discussed a whole lot, and I think that changes your mindset towards product development. It changes the way you think about the future and where you want to see this product go. I feel that's definitely the thing that we've been talking about a whole lot.
Excellent. Is there any examples that you can share where you're seeing some real traction there?
So we're still in the talking phase, I would say, and more in the design phase. But a part where I see it really playing out is basically a combination of product analytics, AI, and user
Mhm.
experience to sort of make the product more sticky. You know, so instead of just relying on sales to make sales, you want to make the product so sticky that
Mhm.
people refer the product to others themselves, and they stay onto the product and become a subscriber eventually.
Excellent.
So So combining all those elements is something that we are currently working towards. And that is both challenging and exciting because it's uncharted territory of sorts, because, we've just started doing product analytics, and we've just started looking into how AI can be useful for us. And so all of those things combined, and giving the user a tailored experience that's personalized to them instead of a generic sort of, everybody sees this when you log in, is
Mm.
something that we are very interested in getting to fruition, getting to the step where, that's implemented.
Right. I like how you paired the very things that are challenging are what is exciting in
Correct.
the venture for Striven right now. Well,
Hmm.
I definitely wish you and your company luck with that as that progresses.
Thank you.
I want to switch gears a little bit right now, Pinky, to some advice that you might
Mhm.
have for women who are interested in breaking into product management, especially in your industry right now. Do you have any advice for them?
I wouldn't have much of, because gender is not something that has played a role on my mind for. It's just not a topic we talk about in our company because everybody
Yeah.
is the same. So that naturally has not occurred to me. But I do realize that whether women do have a lot of things to deal with, whether it's work or whatever's happening besides work. And I think that in our industry we are at that time where so much can be done remote. Like, we are having this conversation remotely.
Right.
We're not meeting each other, but we're still sort of meeting each other. So you can literally achieve whatever you could in person remotely. And if you have that opportunity to get a job in product management or anything related to product management, if you're interested in that, um, and having this sort of flexibility of either doing a hybrid or a remote work that could ease out your day to day planning and flexibility, I think that one, you should take it up, and second, you should promote that in your team so that everybody has that flexibility in your team.
Mm.
So that's something that I would sort of recommend for people who are stepping into this role, that look for companies that promote that kind of culture, because I think it's important to have that space and flexibility, especially since you can do it with technology. It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't decrease your chances at performing your job well. So I would say that's the one thing I would ask them to look for.
Very, very interesting. And so your team at Miles IT is mostly remote team working together or a little bit of both, hybrid?
So we have certain teams that obviously deal with infrastructure. They work in on-premise, but the software team or the Striven team is entirely remote. So
Okay.
we all work from different parts of not just the US, but anywhere in the world.
Wow.
And we've sort of created this sort of harmony. It doesn't matter what time zone you're in. We kind of make everything happen based on the common ground that we have, and excellent planning. We definitely, as a company, we want to see the boundaries disappear. So that's again one of the things that we talk about a whole lot. So it's definitely in our culture that, especially after COVID, I've been working remotely since 2014.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's way before COVID.
Right.
But after COVID, it just became a de facto that everybody's working remotely so they can take care of whatever they need to take care of, plus be their best at work.
Mm.
So that just helps us, and people can stay wherever they want to stay. And it doesn't really hurt the team at all. So I would say that look for those kind of opportunities.
Interesting. Great. Pinky, is there anything else that you would like to share today?
Hmm. Um, I would just say that if you're getting into product management or product management as a whole, or anything related to product, it requires persistence. I think
Mm.
we are in that day and age of instant gratification. Like, you want to see results instantly. You want that something you do should have an immediate impact. I don't think it works like that with products. Yes, in the rare cases it will, but I think it requires a lot of persistence, a lot of hard work and smart work, but hard work, and to get it going. So you need to have that within you, that persistence, to sort of take you through the different challenges that you face as a product manager.
Is that you stay the course, is
Persistent.
the
And
persistence
yes,
another?
be persistent, because
Yes.
you're not going to get immediate results. You have to be patient. And if you're the kind who wants instant,
Yes.
acknowledgement and gratification, well, what I'm imagining today is probably going to be something that comes out 6 9 months down the line, so you cannot have
Wow.
that
Right.
sort of aptitude. You
Right.
should have the patience and persistence for
So,
something.
yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank
Great.
you so much, Pinky, for joining us today and for sharing your experience. And I really appreciate hearing a lot about your team and working with
Hmm.
them. That's really interesting. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more empowering stories from the world of product management. Until next time, I'm Nicole Tieche, and this is Productside Stories.
Thank you for tuning in to Productside Stories. I hope today's insights inspire you and propel your product journey forward. Remember, every challenge is a lesson waiting to be learned. Visit us at productside.com for more free resources like webinars, templates, playbooks, and other product wisdom we've packaged for you. I'm Nicole Tieche, and until next time, keep innovating, keep leading, and keep creating stories worth sharing.